Using filters to sort and narrow down lists. Think of a filter as a way to screen your collection of data records based on selected criteria. For example, you could set a filter to sort and search the list looking only for client records based on a particular state or city. You could filter a list to see only those records for a particular year or for a particular account status. If you're tracking account records, you could set up a filter to only look for those accounts that are overdue, so you could pull up the contact information for each account so you can start making calls to locate your errant funds. Excel offers a tool called AutoFilter, which acts by recording a list of items for each entry made to a particular field, such as a state of residence. Then it lets you select a particular entry from that list, so you can narrow your focus within the type of records you need to see at any given time. Obviously, the larger your data list becomes, the more useful this type of tool is. You can perform either simple searches or complex ones using AutoFilter. To do a relatively simple search, just click anywhere within your range of data, then open the Data menu and select Filter. Now, by default, AutoFilter is checked, but let's click AutoFilter to uncheck it, and then go back to enable it, we would click AutoFilter. Note that each field name has a drop-down arrow next to it. As we pointed out before, you would click on the drop-down arrow next to the field you want to filter by, and then select the item from the drop-down list for which you want to search. For example, perhaps you want to search for everybody in the photo department. So now we've narrowed our list to just those who work doing photography for the editorial department. If we want to go back now and look at the entire list again, and not just sorted by who's a photographer or assigned to the photography department, we would go back and select all. Now let's give another example. Look for everybody who's a temporary worker. So we'll filter our list based on who's a temporary worker. So we'll click on the drop-down arrow next to status. We'll select TW from the list, and now we have our list of temporary workers. This is how this basically works. If you want to sort and filter by more than one field at a time, you would just repeat the process of clicking on the drop-down arrow next to the next field name and selecting the match criteria from the drop-down list until you're satisfied. Now, once you've located what you want, you can turn off AutoFilter again by reopening the Data menu to select Form and AutoFilter again and make certain that when you leave it, it's unchecked. So for example here, we would click again to uncheck AutoFilter, and AutoFilter is no longer available. You can also just click on the drop-down arrow next to the field names, as I showed you before, and go back to displaying the entire list as we had before. And notice too that when AutoFilter is turned off, you do not have the drop-down arrows next to each field name. So in order to get the drop-down arrows back, you'd need to go back to the data window, select Filter, and choose AutoFilter, and then you've got your drop-down boxes back again. Now to perform a more complex type of search, again you'll click anywhere within the range of data, then you're going to select Data, Filter. We've already selected AutoFilter, so that's turned on. Now we're going to go to one of our drop-down lists, and we're going to choose Custom. When the Custom AutoFilter window opens, we need to select basic information that lets us know what the criteria are that we want to search by. So for example, here we've chosen last name, but maybe we want to search based on last name and status. So we'll go to last name and choose Custom, where last name equals a particular value, such as anybody named Chase. And then we choose and/or, and then make a selection based on our second criteria that we want to search on. So for example, does not equal one of the other options here. And so you can make it however you want it to be. So here we could have, say, it equals Chase but does not equal a first name of Catherine. It could be whatever you need it to be. And then click OK. Play around with this a little bit and you'll see much better how it works and how it can work for you. Once you do get your filtered list, you want to review the results and make certain that you think you're getting everything you should, because it could be that you've set up something incorrectly. So that's an example of how you can do a filtered search.